the introductory press conference for Mavs' first-round draft pick, 9th overall, Morez Johnson Jr. out of Michigan, now posing with Mavs team president Masai Ujiri. Morez will wear number 14, not the number he wanted.
Yeah.
Wanted 21, which he wore at Michigan, but that is currently held by Daniel Gafford. We'll see for how long. And with that, we welcome you back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We like D-Gaff. We like the landlord. We don't know what's going to happen, but the Mavs do have a whole lot of big men.
Yep.
That front court is absolutely loaded.
Yep. A little too loaded, some might say.
And you wonder if there will be an odd man out. So, all in all, that was about, 15 minutes?
15 about, yeah.
15 minutes of Q&A with Morez. And I must say, I was a little bit surprised by how soft-spoken he was, because when you watch him play, he is not soft in any shape or form. And maybe some of that will just come out in time, and maybe as he gets more comfortable in the Dallas market.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because he was asked something along those lines of like watching you, especially during the NCAA tournament, which is when I feel like a lot of people were first introduced to him. He was anything but what you'd expect as a soft-spoken individual. But he self-admitted. He said, off the court, I barely talk that much. And you kind of got that sense listening to him today. But, I mean, he's not being drafted for his media presence. I think he was drafted because of what he can bring to this team. But I think the selection of him, again, I go back to, it's June. It's the end of June. They made a plethora of picks, 4 total coming out of this draft with the trades that they made. There is still so much that will happen between free agency and additional trades before we get a real sense of what this team for 2026 is going to look like when they start playing basketball. I just don't think we have any real indication of what the finished product looks like even with these draft picks.
That's absolutely a fair point. I think Mavs fans are wanting to see. Go for it. Say his name. Sergio. We tried this yesterday and did not go well for yours truly. You got it?
Sergio de la Rea.
That's good. That's pretty good.
It's way better than me.
Sergio de la Rea.
Well, I learned that you don't roll R's with your uvula. You roll them with your tongue, and it was a whole thing.
You were gargling on air?
Pretty much.
Oh my god.
Well, I've been trying. I've been doing that for 35 years now, and apparently I've been doing it wrong the entire time. We'll figure that out in the interim. Hopefully, I figure out how to roll my R's before Sergio de la Rea.
Cereal? It's like cereal.
You just pronounce it like Furio. That's what it is.
Sergio.
Cereal.
Yeah.
Sergio.
Sergio.
You can also go with Sergio. I think Sergio would be preferable.
Well,
over
he
cereal.
wants Sergio.
Sergio.
Hopefully, I figure this out before he steps on the floor for the Dallas Mavericks, but that could be some time.
Yeah.
Coming over from Spain. But, Andrew, do you want to kind of give us the run-through of what the Mavs did in the draft last night, which was round 2, and they picked up 2 more additions? Most notably, to me, was not actually Toby Lawal.
Yeah,
it was going for another international guard.
Yeah.
But run them through.
I mean, it's Morez Johnson Jr., 9th overall. They obviously made the trade with the Lakers that threw Twitter ablaze, reminding everybody of a certain night back in February. Number 48, they took his name is Toby on the ledger here, but I looked it up as Toy Boo. So that's his nickname. It's Lawal. Out of Virginia Tech, Nigerian background, but mainly from London. Like that's where he grew up.
Nigerian ethnicity, but from London, went to Virginia Tech.
Right. So a
He
bunch
went to several colleges, but
but obviously one of many international guys. And the only reason Jonah's tossing it to me is so that I have to try and pronounce the Russian name.
Exactly.
Which
I
I
got
was
it.
not.
It's Savaladish.
You want it,
It's
Michelle?
Savaladish, right?
that was right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why can I get that, but I can't get Sergio?
So it's Savalada Ishchenko?
Ishchenko.
I'm
sure we'll get some Russian viewer calling in and be like, it's actually technically this. So that's fine.
Interesting the dialogue around him, though. Because, again, a lot of the process going into this, we all thought guard. Made most sense to take that with the first overall pick, or the first pick that they had in this draft, and to find other avenues to get it. As Masai said, it's like when he was first introduced, it's not just about the picks that we have. There are other avenues to try and build the roster. They clearly kind of pushed the envelope in that regard and maybe not reached, but found some guys that might be able to develop into something. And as you said, harken back to the old days of the Mavs and how they used to build teams.
I know, seriously. When I first got here, it felt like the entire team was just international guy after international guy. And I think there's something to adding a Spanish guard in Serio is that they play with a certain flair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I think of not even just, and Lucas Slovenian, but he played in Spain for
Right.
so many years that he kind of adopted that style. But you go to like Ricky Rubio and
the
Rudy
first name to
Fernandez,
come
like
back.
all
Yeah.
these guys for like it's just a certain style of play that the Mavs could really use. I mean, that there's something, there's creation, there's creativity. And if you've got the front court solidified, that's why I think he's so intriguing to fans and to us alike. But again, he's still raw and
Right.
young, and we don't know what he looks like against NBA players. But all in all, of the 4 picks, he's the one I'm most intrigued by.
Yeah.
But Lawal and his ability to jump out of the gym, we might see him sooner than later too.
I think it's also worth noting this was our first real glimpse at a team being run and structured by Masai Ujiri at the helm and Mike Schmitz, both of whom have extensive experience and familiarity with scouting abroad.
Correct.
Right.
And scouting the international pool. Masai Ujiri has a proven track record of finding hidden gems outside of the lottery. You go back to 2012 with Evan Fournier, Pascal Siakam, as recently as OG Anunoby, and we saw what he just did with the Knicks during their NBA championship run. He has shown that something that catches his eye in some of these guys, especially foreigners, but also guys that aren't necessarily sought after in the lottery, they've proven the ability, or at least he has proven the ability, to find something that they can at least develop and the potential they're able to turn into something more prominent. So I think that is, like, right now, I think if you look at the collective body of work, like these 4 draft picks, I think they went into the draft with a couple of immediate needs.
Yeah.
One of which was a shooter and a point guard, right? And I don't know that
They answered any of them.
right. I mean, they needed some forward depth, I would say, and they have that. But beyond that, I don't think you walk away feeling like
We're ready
last
to
year
compete.
the
Right.
Mavericks were not that bad on defense. They needed offense. So I felt like going into this draft, that was going to be the priority.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that walking away from it, you feel like they addressed that piece.
I agree.
It's interesting, though, from the guard, because you brought up the Spain contingency, because my first thought was Ricky Rubio. It's the first name I think of when you think of Spanish guard. His main sticking point in Minnesota was, there wasn't a lot of talent around him while he was there, but part of the reason he didn't take the NBA by storm was because he didn't have the scoring punch. He was much more of a facilitator. He wanted to be like essentially what Jokic is, who is essentially, I will do everything but score, but I'll score when I need to, right? You have the scoring with Cooper Flagg. If he is going to be you need someone to get the ball not just to him, but to spread and find everybody else. If that's the kind of mantra that they're trying to build out of this, I like that kind of selection. And I like Morez from the perspective of he's like the archetypal NBA player that everyone's trying to find these days.
Yeah,
and
especially if he hits. If
Exactly.
he hits, it's going to hit big.
But from a defensive perspective, at a minimum, and good, they were already relatively solid on defense last year. If you're just getting a younger version of the guys that were already on the team, that's a benefit too. If you can get younger and let guys develop and find their shot and find their rhythm in a unit like this, that again, when we were talking about young cores and the Spurs have a starting 5 that's all under 25, the Mavs are kind of building that similar vibe, and I like that they're trying to compete on that level as well.
I found it notable that Morez said that he kind of really adopted his style off of Giannis and Bam. And Bam's been like the comp to Morez kind of throughout this whole pre-draft process.
Yeah.
So if they get a Bam-type player at 9, that's a hit.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a hit. And so that's essentially what you're hoping he becomes. If you're a Mavs fan, and to your point about the international, the league has become so international heavy where sometimes if you're able to nail those diamonds in the rough abroad, I mean, it's not an untapped market, but some are better at scouting and in figuring out who are those top international guys than others. Mike Schmitz was all in on Luka Doncic when he was in 2018. He was all in on Denny Avdia, who's turned out to be an all-star. So if these guys have the pulse on international basketball, let's see it. I mean, Pascal Siakam, another. I mean, they know where to find untapped talent, and that's, I think, where at least it gives you some form of hope and optimism, even if they're second round, late first round guys.
This isn't about competing this year. It's about finding a step forward.